So, folks, I'm going to do a quick, not a quick, it's going to take 9 or 10 minutes of a rundown on where I can see Mayo possibly having a chance of winning this All Ireland final at the weekend. First thing to set out before I upset anyone is I'm coming at this and how Mayo are clearly the underdogs, and the fact that Kerry have a particularly talented team, right? I've had to look for faults and gaps in the Kerry game, and they exist like they would nearly any team. Um, so it's not to be perceived as a criticism of Kerry. They are, in fact, a team to be admired. Their attacking prowess, the depth of their attack, the way they defend as a team, and that's a critical little bit I'll go into later on, which is significant. Their effort, their scrambling is superb. Their physicality around the midfield is very impressive, but is on the edge. And I'll talk a little bit about that and where they might get a bit undone with that. But they generally have some fantastic players. So I'm not going to go too much into them. Enough has been said about them. We know their strengths. It'll come up in this anyway. The way Gaelic football is at the moment, though, I don't think it's as actually different strategically as people are trying to make out. I think there's a number of fundamental principles and strategies that, while not exclusive and 100% believed in, let's say, everywhere, there's a certain way of playing, which is something I'm going to go into what Mayo need to do, that has to be the way to play the new game. And it's just, I think, that they were either already suited to it. Cynically, I think the rules were probably built a little bit for Kerry. But regardless, they have the tools that suit the game. Big, good at kickouts. They've gone after that. They don't want to defend, right? They want a possession game where they have more possessions than you. Their efficiency will mean they'll beat most teams by 6 points plus in the top two divisions, okay? On a bad day, right? So you give them enough ball, it's all over. That's their general strategy. But broadly, what they do is no different to what anybody else needs to do with these new rules, which I think has narrowed. You need a good goalkeeper who can get the ball away short. If you win the ball short, you probably generally, unless you're in trouble in a game, don't go hard and fast, right? You don't want to be turned over. You want to get that ball dead. You want to get a score, but you want to get a ball dead. You're not going to score a goal from a short kick out, generally. I'm not saying it never happens, but generally, okay? You want to get it dead and put pressure on their kick out, okay? The slower your attack, actually, the better set up you are to press a kick out, okay? Because your defenders will be in better shape, your half back line will be up the field, etc., etc. Then kickouts, breaks, a great chance from either kick out, particularly the oppositions, to kick long in or to go hard and fast. So kickouts either way, one clean and your quick solo go, quick hand pass off, whatever. A break in particular that breaks out of the mess is lethal. That's a great chance. That's the same for everybody. And then turnovers. Now, some teams, one difference here is some people will win a turnover and act like it's a short kick out. And that's fair enough. That's a tactical approach if you want to slow down everything. Mayo might do that against Kerry. However, Tyrone and Dublin have given inklings that beating Kerry's kick out and turning them over, particularly if you turn over the two Cliffords, which is unusual but happened the last day, ignites a transition, right? Now, Kerry, as I said, have scrambled well and have played very well in that regard, and they haven't really been opened yet. But I do think there is chances there, and this is the bottom line. Mayo are going to need to create and take one or two of those chances in that regard. Okay, so let's look at some of what other teams have done to Kerry that might be, or what they've allowed Kerry do as well, that might be of use to Mayo and taking in Mayo's talents and apparent approach. So Tyrone ignore a lot in this game, and they ignored the left-hand side of the goal, I think very smartly, and overload Clifford's corner, right? This is a transition. Not an amazingly fast transition, but they're moving, right? Kerry do get back here, but you are decombobulated for, 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds when you've transitioned back like this. And this was a 2-pointer, Okay. This is what you can't do with Kerry though. You can't give them handy kickouts like this. This is a goal chance that I think as they get sharper, they're going to start taking. Okay. Probably not an amazing shot really. But again, this turnover leads to a Tyrone shot. Here again, kickouts, questionable free, but look how fast Kerry are gone. And it's fairly simple football from there. Okay, but again, Tyrone commit to that area of the field, right? They've got a 7-man over to that end of the field. No 2s or 3s seems to be, right? Clifford's going to get those 1-pointers, right? This is a crucial part for me then going the other way in slow attacks, right? Kerry against Tyrone held the arc more. This is too much space for an intercounty Division 1 footballer to get. And they're going to score them. So if Kerry hang back like they did against Tyrone, and we'll watch for later because they changed this against Dublin, this is a 2-point threat. Mayo get their players in the right positions. Kerry are not amazing 1v1 tacklers. I'm going to go into that more. This is poor defending, right? They had 4-on-1 there. That is poor defending. Then if you can get the kick out and go hard and fast, and Teague knows this, okay? This is a difficult score, narrow. Kerry good at scrambling back, but that's a good score. Dublin got a lot of scores like that through the middle. This is something Tyrone did well that Mayo need to repeat, and that is they don't give Paddy Clifford the run of it. I know it's hard because of the way Dublin played, but that kind of pressure collating to the Kerry's right hand side of the attack again, forcing Paddy onto his right, which is a critical part. Allowed fellas double up, and then they're attacking. Again, a good score, probably low percentage score from that area, but an inspirational score. And these scores are absolutely crucial. This is excellent here from Tyrone. They are not going to give them too much space. But in the end, and this is one of the key factors, is Gainey. Paul Gainey. This stage of the game, Kerry were struggling, right? And he just knows when to go and get the ball. And this is more Kerry's strengths here and stuff that you kind of have to live with to some degree. Broken ball and Clifford's on it like a flash. This is a brilliant goal for me. He was kind of out of that attack, but that's how dangerous he is. But you're going to have to accept that Kerry are definitely going to get to 18 to 22 points, okay? But Tyrone are brilliant. They don't get drawn into this sense of inevitability just because there was a goal. They actually ended up scoring a 2-pointer really fast. Again, Kerry too much space on the arc. They're marking a line. They're not marking the ball. This is a weakness in their zonal defense or their scramble defense, and they don't play. Mayo don't really play that wildly different from Tyrone either, so it's not a massive shift. So they're driving the intention to identify the gaps in Kerry's game. That's what they're trying to do. Again, this is a big score there. This is against the Dubs now, and the Dubs played differently, right? This is a good score, but look, it's inside the arc. 4v3 Dublin got out there, and they're not allowing the loop pass for 2-pointers. Kerry do get energized from these 2-pointers. This ends up being the penalty. I don't think it's a penalty, but look, horizontally, vertically, Dublin are so well set up, and they go into the zone, scramble in. For me, not a penalty, nearly a charge as much as anything else. This is something Mayo can't do though, right? This ball, given Paddy oceans of space outside, is just going to get you killed. He is the point guard of point guards in Gaelic football. He will produce something with this much space. He's almost, when people drop back off him like this, he's assisting or scoring. I think it's close to 100% at times. So I would ask though, because Kerry changed and pushed out in Dublin. Are they changing? Are they sticking or twisting? Are they worried about their game? And then Dublin responded, whether by design or by what they saw in front of them, by playing through the middle. Give and goes, give and goes, give and goes. I think Dublin next year will score 2, 3, 4 goals against Kerry because I think they're going to get better at the way they're playing. Again, a few incidents here, narrow angles, but relatively good, easy scores for players at this standard. Kerry's shape is good, but their tackling is woeful. And there's some really easy breaches there. And I know these are good athletes and whatnot, but they're not positioning themselves to delay players. It happens again here. Little gives and goes are causing them trouble, right? This is excellent play, really. Shape from Dublin, the run to the D from Costello is all top quality. Again, win a kick out, go for goal. This is a particularly good play for me because it looked slowed, it looked dead, bit of pace, but Kerry get drawn in. It looked relatively well set up here, but they're asleep. And there's 4 or 5 players taken out here with just Dublin players finishing their run. Now, to their credit, brilliant scrambling, brilliant defending and getting back. One of the critical parts of Kerry's game is kickouts. However, if we look at this here, right, we want to force Kerry very long. That is good for Dublin. Okay? It's one game, it's one bit of evidence. They will kill you if it's short, they're going to kick it dead at the other side. Right? They're almost 100% in some games for getting the ball into the 45, and they have been 100% for getting a shot away from short kickouts. They're very good, obviously, to their left, right? You see all those red dots. They've won just around halfway. Mark O'Shea, Joe O'Connor do a lot of good work there. Then out longer, though, if Mayo can force them longer, Dublin destroyed them. So it was 8 to maybe 3 or 4 on those very long kickouts. Okay, so I think that's a notable feature of the kickout game that Mayo will have to go after. Okay, force it really, really long. That's going to be something new for Mayo because they haven't really done that as of yet. So here now we have another really important element. Just pull that back a touch. And Kerry are somewhat vulnerable if you're clean from their own kick out. Okay, there was opportunities here for Dublin because they won the scramble. Kerry commit a lot of players to the breaks. That means, though, if they lose it, they're in trouble. Now, this was a 2-pointer and a massive score for them, right? But they can be caught out when you win the ball. This is brilliant from Patrick Burn. And just like Kerry can build pressure and get a score on you, it is a game of maths to some degrees, and they can feel the pressure when they're losing the kickouts. Their tackling notably gets worse, right? They have set up to not defend as much. They're avoiding it deliberately, right? But that means that they are vulnerable if a game gets into a real 50-50 possession game. They're going to have to defend more. So they've allowed for that and they've coached for that, and their team scrambles and gets back superbly. But 1-on-1 and 2v2, there is some gaps. Again, quick movement, quick use of the ball, not overplaying it, and they get a score. Dublin did very well off their own kick-out. Okay. So again, you can see here they made hay. Off their own kick-out. Okay, so it shows a lot about they didn't have as many kick-outs, but Dublin or Kerry's efficiency. that they're scoring goals and 2 pointers is a huge part for them. Okay, so that goal, obviously, from the long ball that we'll see in a minute, was a critical part, right? But Dublin did do very well. Mayo will have to do this well. So you got to be fast. That's one thing. Because if Kerry get kickouts like this, they're very good at getting to the landing zone. And they're very good at getting scores like that because they have players like the two Cliffords. Interesting bit here. Darren Devine, I give credit to Darren Devine for the data. A very important part of the game, short kick out outcomes. Okay, so Mayo, funnily enough, are actually the best at getting the ball into the opposition 45 overall. But Kerry are 100% retained. So Mayo are 86. They do not need to give up goals against that. That's one thing, right? You give up a short kick out, it's a goal chance for Kerry, right? And it's really important that Mayo finish their attacks. I would say go painfully slow when they do win their own kick out short if they go for it. This is another part of it. The goals. Okay. Crucial if you look at it. Amount of shots, points, 2 pointers, Mayo are winning. Mayo need to have a 2 point game. They need to have a big day, which is even better than they've done so far. If they do that, they may get away with only 0 or 1 goal. I think they probably need 2 goals. Kerry have 11 goals to Mayo's 5. And that is a clear issue. If Mayo show up and overcome the nerves and inexperience and all that and do their basic jobs, reduce the Cliffords like Tyrone and Dublin did to varying degrees, and do well on possession and kickouts, everything like that to an 8 out of 10 kind of level, I still think they lose 2-18 to 19 or something, right? If they don't get that and they lose a bit of confidence and the occasion gets them, it could be 2-6 or 2-8 to a point after 20 minutes. That's a fear. I don't think that'll actually happen. I think this is more likely what's going to happen. What they really need to do is not give away goals and maybe score one of their own and be level with 10-12 minutes to go. You'd still fancy Kerry to some degree, but their fitness and athleticism and momentum could actually draw them over the line. So that's going to be a very interesting aspect of this. Key function of it all really is it's a 2 and 3 point game for Mayo, right? They need to reduce Kerry's 2s and 3s because their efficiency is off the charts, and they need to take opportunities like this that Dublin created for 2s or 3s. Okay, I think Dublin will get better at this, and next year might be scoring a couple of goals against Kerry. That was a goal chance, and that's where some of their poor defending is obvious. Okay. Then on the flip side, though, Kerry are constantly in the game. They'll follow in 2 point shots. A lot of complaints about this goal, but like, if you're not following in your 2 points shots, you're not there. Okay. I don't really think people can have much complaints about that. Umpires get square ball wrong all the time now, right? He was in there. He made himself a presence. He was in there for the break. Kerry are willing to kick it in a bit long. I think Gainey is the key in that. I think his intelligence is missing against intelligent defenses. I think his leadership is missing against intelligent defenses, and I think they will need him to make absolutely sure of the game, especially if Mayo turn up and do what Dublin are doing. Mark Pawdy, have their ball side strong defence, overload Clifford's side, avoid as much 2s and have no 3s as possible, and I give them a real puncher's chance, to be honest. As I said, I think Kerry will win 2-18 to 19 or something like that. Because they will get those goal chances and they will take a couple of them, I think, just the way Mayo defend. And they might be caught on the break once or twice. And I think there'll be a learning curve for Mayo here. The one big matchup issue I think that Kerry have, and weirdly, I think David Clifford isn't the matchup issue that people think anymore. I don't think you put your best marker on him. I think you zonally try and double up on him and reduces his effectiveness by giving him 1 point shots, not 2s and 3s. Paddy needs an outfield kind of engine runner who can defend a bit. Mayo have that, right? Where Kerry don't have someone is for Kobe, and he is an elite athlete, and he plays unusually because he's not been coached that much, and he isn't playing in an orthodox way. People have said, and this is where my SNC kind of athlete profile mind is going. Kobe is a fast hybrid, an out and out athlete, made for Gaelic football, made for Aussie rules, right? He's skillful and he's rangy as well. I think he caused a lot of trouble for Paul Murphy or Obegla or any of those types who would stay with him. And then Foley would beat him in a 200 metre race, 150 metre race. He might even beat him in the first few steps. But he's not going to run around him with him all day. I don't think that suits Foley. He's a power player, or more to that side, as Gaelic footballers go at least. He's a sprinter. He's a very, very good defender. But I don't think putting him on Kobe would be a good idea. And he's probably more suited to O'Donoghue. So, or maybe even Byrne. But I would wonder how Kerry are going to deal with Kobe. That is the one thing that if he turns up and has gone up another notch and they do all the things 8 out of 10 that I've spoke about earlier, I see that as being the outlier that Kerry may not be able to quench. So again, very tentative. I'm reaching a lot. I've had to look hard at the Kerry faults. They're mostly defensive, even though they have a good defensive system in broad sense. 1-on-1, 2v2, they're not great. They're falling off tackles this year, even more than last year. I wonder, is there a confusion in the coaching? There's there's a new combination of coaches there. Kerry have turned over a lot of ball kicking this year. I don't have the stats, but it feels like it's a lot more than last year. That might come against them. But what you're expecting really is that they're a bit more like Limerick in the hurling last week, and that they turn up and peak now, because they've been heavy-legged. But I thought Limerick looked heavy-legged as well. I thought they looked a bit worn and old at times in some of their games, and then they were absolutely phenomenal in the final. We could see some of that with Kerry as well, as they're experts at timing their run to finals. So I think Mayo will turn up. I think there's less pressure on this Mayo team. I think they're really well coached and managed, and I think they'll get within 4 to 7 points of Kerry. Probably a few late scores, Kerry subs being the difference, having made it a very good and entertaining game for a decent amount of time. The one caveat where I think Kerry potentially could hand Mayo an advantage, and with the new rules it is an advantage, is discipline. And it is funny to watch games be analysed now on RTGA or GA Plus, where screening at kickouts is, my understanding is screening is illegal in the rules, right? Kerry have got away with a number of very obvious screens and bordering on cleanouts, and then off the ball, like short kickouts where there's been screens that were highlighted recently by Enda McGinley. So ref might turn on them a little bit. That's one thing. Mark O'Shea, unbelievable athlete. I'd love to have him on my team. He's definitely one of these guys. You want him on your team. I'm not being critical at all. In fact, he just plays on the edge, and he probably did get a red card offence. Missed the last day with an elbow into the head. Might have been harsh. It certainly probably wasn't that intentional. He was going for the ball, but it was reckless enough. And I don't think the ref saw it. I don't think it was a poor decision per se. And he does really play on the edge. And if something went wrong there, you lose a ball winner like that. They stay close to win, and if I was coaching them, that's what you'd want, right? It adds an awful lot to their game. But that is the one other caveat where I think they could hand Mayo 3 points to 6 points back, because I think it's definitely 3 points. Most of the time, people will talk about Loud playing with 14. I think it's nearly always poor preparation, ability to change, maybe management on the sideline sometimes, but it's nearly always poor application of the 15 rather than the team with 15 to use the overload than anything brilliant from the 14. Lowe did very well in that they went for it and kind of kept their same approach. And if you've zonal defense and stuff, like Mayo might get away with that a little bit, Kerry would to a certain degree if they're scrambling. But I still think an athletic team like Mayo, if they got their head around it, if it happened before half time and they could reorganise, that would be an issue. I'm not trying to get anyone sent off here. I think Mark O'Shea in particular is a brilliant player. But there's been a few of them where they've been lucky, and that can go against you, because I know the referees have mentioned it, and it's been mentioned in national newspapers on one or two occasions and in previews this week. So how the referee goes into it, it could go the other way. It could be a Mayo player who gets caught because of a heightened view of things as well. That is quite possible. So you have to be aware of that. So that'd be one thing that I think that Kerry could hand a bit of an advantage to Mayo if they get that slightly wrong from over exuberance or just going the wrong side of the line ever so slightly.